internship programs if you do want to come into the company. If you're looking for showcasing at different conferences as a startup, that's always there as well. If you're looking for co-development funding and sharing co-development IP, absolutely. If you're looking to approach a market and you're looking for research funds, for example, sometimes that's possible as well, depending on the country that you're in the area. In the healthcare sector, we actually do partner quite a lot with startups to trial new technology. And in that scheme, we may still touch on whether or not Turkey can move to autonomous vehicles before some of the others, so I'll wait just in case we go there next. But oftentimes, smart technology and fast adoption doesn't just come from countries or places that are necessarily early adopters. Sometimes the early adopters don't often go far enough because they stop when they've got the goal that they want instead of continuing. So it depends where you are, but I would say, generally speaking, all industries move ahead once you've got startups and a high amount of innovation coming through in any industry.
Çiğdem, how do you see the startup scenery in Turkey? Do you work with startups yourself?
Yes, we work with startups, and it's a delight to work with them. So young and energetic, and full of good ideas, and very, very excited about their vision to come true. And we support them with insight and business advice. I do believe in the fact that we have a very strong startup ecosystem now in Turkey. It wasn't like this about 3-4 years ago. But with so many networks of startups, they have found plenty of funding, especially on e-businesses that has grown a lot within certain cycles. And I also see a lot of companies encouraging entrepreneurship and startup within themselves, like GE and others. So they don't necessarily have to start up their own company, but they can try to innovate within their corporate culture and so forth. This is also forthcoming. It's just starting. And of course, there are a lot of support and financial aid, government subsidies for startups. So I see that this can push Turkey's input towards more value-added services in the automotive sector. And more our automotive clients, they want to start up innovation centers, design centers, and also trying to rethink the way that they're supplying or shipping or assembling and so forth. So innovation doesn't necessarily have to come from a product or an idea, but also a lot of businesses trying to innovate about new ways of doing this. And startups are actually bringing in new perspectives on how to proceed forward.
Well, I think everybody has been noticing that I like it here in Turkey. I've been here for a long time. I'm a fan of Turkey, but I strongly dislike the way you have to live if you don't want to use your car. And particularly if you want to use alternative models of moving around. I've spent most of my summer on scooters, on e-scooters, I have to admit, in Germany, in England, and in southern France. It's been wonderful. I've tried it once here with Marti, and it failed miserably after 500 meters. I left the thing and I just locked it against the next tree, and I gave up. So with this slightly humorous approach about the driving conditions in Istanbul particularly, I'd like to move into our last question, a very short one with short answers. And after that, we have a few minutes for questions from the audience, for which I'd like you to prepare, if you have any, to our very interesting panelists. But my last question would simply be, will Europe go car-free before the rest of the world? Will Europe be the trendsetter in leaving the cars in the garages and selecting other forms of transportation, Kimberly?
Europe or Turkey?
Europe.
Okay.
Including Turkey.
Including Turkey, okay. Possibly, but to be honest, I think Turkey has a better chance of going carless before all of Europe.
Wow, why is that?
Because when you think about a when you think about Europe not as a homogenous country, it's a set of countries together that have different cultural norms, different views on car ownership, different infrastructure setups in their countries, which make it more or less challenging to go car-free. The interesting thing about Turkey is that you already have the majority of the things required to have high-speed innovation here, particularly in autonomous vehicles. One of the things that often surprises people is widespread technology innovation and implementation doesn't always occur in some of the most obvious places that you think. So just very quickly, who knows the country that has the highest amount of digital healthcare providers in the world and digitization of healthcare services? It's actually Saudi Arabia. So if you didn't know that I bet would not be the country that you thought of first. And the reason for that is because maybe they were a little bit later coming to market with their healthcare service providers, but they don't have to start from the very basic line, and they don't have a history or a belief that it has to be a certain way. So here's another one for you. Where was the first 3D printed building assembled? So 3D printing has been around for ages, and you would think, oh yes, we must be trying this in the US, or we must be trying this in Germany or the UK. No, it was actually in Dubai. It's a multi-story building that was entirely printed in something like 17 days and assembled in 3. So often, when you think of how to embrace technology and where to start, it's not where you think it should be. Last one, just to prove the point. FinTech. Who thinks FinTech started in the US or Europe? FinTech and mobile banking, transfer of payments actually started in Africa. Because most people can't get to a bank, they're not going to walk around with all of the money that they have in their pocket, and they needed a way to quickly and efficiently transfer funds, and that actually started in Africa, not in Europe and not in North America. So I see no reason why autonomous vehicles can't be taken up and really proved to the point here. Will it happen in the rest of Europe? I don't know that it would happen as fast because it's a group of countries that all have different cultures and views on ownership.
Bassem, when will Rheinmetall demolish their car park in Germany? When there will be no more people coming by car to the office in Germany?
It's going to take a long time, of course. But back to your question, what I see, we need also to have in mind that the population is going to be older also. So in the world is around 30% in the next 10 years. So elderly mobility also would be a topic important that is overlooked. So I think to a certain extent, even fast connections, public transport could help to reduce the car usage, but still we will need it for sure in some way.
Chidem, do you use Martı? Do you use the scooters in Istanbul?
I haven't used Martı, but my daughter has, and she's actually quite fond of it. I mean, unlike you, she really liked the experience. About Turkey, I don't think we'll ever become carless, because you have to remember, we are a nation of horses. We are nomads. So we will never ever go carless. I don't think so. I think Turkey will always remain a strong market for.
Please get a helmet for your daughter. That's all.
I will. Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Would anybody like to ask something?